Okay. Guys. Unit 8, worksheet 2. I'm going to do number 1 with you. Any other questions on 2 through 1? Please stop the talking, guys. All right, it says fill in the chart and plot the points. 3, they gave us the answer. I'm going to check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is it indeed 8? Okay. Point 2. Point B is going to be number 2. 1, 2. How far up do you go right here from 2? So that is 4, and that is point B. When you go over 1, how far up on the graph do you go? 2. And that is point C, which makes sense because 2 to the third is 8, 2 squared is 4, and 2 to the first is 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. 1/2. Positive 1/2 is right about there. So, positive half technically is right about here, and then you go up. How far up do you go? It looks like you go up a little past 1, not quite to 2. Can you guys see that? Is it 1.5 or a little bit below 1.5?
A little bit lower.
So about 1.4?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to call that point D. And then E is 0. When you're at 0, how far up do you go? 1, which should make sense because 2 to the 0 is 1. And when you're at -1, that looks about right in the middle, so what would you say? 0.5 or 1/2, which makes sense because what is 2 to the negative first power? Where does it move? 1 over 2, and 1 over 2 is equivalent to 0.5. Does that make sense? Okay. Before I go to the back page, I'll open it up one more time for questions on numbers 2 through 13. All of which will be on tomorrow's quiz.
13.
Do I have a hand up over there? 13, is that what I heard over here as well? Okay, because of the negative exponent. Before I do that, does anyone want a positive exponent before I do the negatives?
Yeah.
Okay, does it matter which one?
No.
Pick one. How about the 256? The number 10. Yes or no? All right, so we write this as 256 radical. What goes in here as the index? 4, the power. 3. You do the radical part first. 256. Can anybody tell me what you broke 256 down into? You divided it by what? 2 and 128, and then 2 and
I have a faster reaction.
64. Yes.
I divided it by 4 and I got 64.
Okay, good. That would be faster. I'm gonna since you said 64, I'm gonna stop here at the 64. He said he used 4 and 64, both of which are perfect squares. 64 breaks down into what? 8. Now, typically I would stop here because this is a pair. Why can I not stop here? Anyone know? I need to take out in chunks of what? 4. So I need to keep going. How many 2's are in each 8? Does anybody have that memorized? 2 times 2 times 2. Are there 3 2's in each 8? Yes? Okay, so 4th root of, how many 2's do I have all together? There's 8 of them, yes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Raised, it's still raised to what power? Okay. I circle in chunks of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I have enough where everything comes out? How many chunks? So 2 times 2 is 4 my final answer? No, 4 to the third is 4 times 4 times 4. So 16 times 4 is 64 is the final answer. Definite on tomorrow's quiz. Did you get it? Good. All right, this one is very, very similar, only it's a negative exponent. And I talked to you guys about this on notes last week. Where did I say to put the negative, the top or the bottom? The top, so it goes to the 5. So 64, radical index is 6, and the power is negative 5. Always put the negative at the power, not the index. 64 breaks up into what? We have it right here. 8 and 8, which is how many 2's in each 8? How many 2's altogether? Is there 6? And what's the power? The power is negative 5. Do I have enough for everything to come out? What does it come out as? 2. So is my answer 2 or 2 to the negative 5th? Okay, here is a mistake kids often make. They'll say, oh, 2 to the 5th is 32, so 2 to the negative 5th must be negative 32. True or false? False. 2 to the negative 5th is not negative 32. It's not even negative. What do we do with the negative exponent? We move it to the bottom and the top stays 1. So it's 1 over, I just told you what 2 to the 5th was. What was it? 32. So 1 over 32 is the answer. You will have to remember negative exponent means a negative base. It does not mean you have a negative answer. It just means, and I said that wrong. I'm going to repeat it. A negative exponent means a fraction answer. A negative exponent, here we go. A negative exponent means you're going to end up with a fraction answer. Not a negative answer, a fraction answer. Unless the base is negative, in which we will not see those yet. Okay, questions? Okay, backside. Numbers 14 to the end. Any questions? Number 19, that's a good one. I'll take one more. No one? Yes. Number 17. Good. Okay, I also want to talk about 27, and then we'll be good with this. Okay, both of these, are they both negative bases or negative exponents? Okay, do you see the difference? That's a negative exponent, that's a negative base. Negative exponents give you what kind of answer? Fraction. That means you're going to have a fraction answer. Negative exponents means a fraction answer. We just did one on the previous page. A negative base means you have a regular answer. It might be positive, it might be negative. We'll see what this one is. Radical, negative 27. What goes right in here? 3. What's the power? And there's no negative on the outside, just the inside. Break down 27 without the negative. Is that 9 and 3? And 3 and 3. How many 3's do I have? How many? They're either all positive or all negative. In order to get negative 27, they must all be negative. And do I have enough to come out? Yes or no? One set, what is it coming out as? Negative 3. If you're cube rooting or fifth rooting or seventh rooting a negative base, it's going to come out to be a negative number. But what power is it being raised to? To a second power. Is that going to become positive or negative? Why? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Does that mean you're always going to have a positive answer? No. I'm going to erase this. Don't erase yours. What if this was a positive 3? Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 would give me a positive or a negative answer?
Negative.
A negative. So it all depends on what the power is. We did talk about that last week. Does anybody remember how you can tell whether it's positive or negative? Odd or even. If it's even, 2, 4, 6, 8, it's going to be positive because an even amount of negatives. But if that's odd, like a 3 or a 5 or a 7, the answer is going to come out to be a negative. Will it come out to be a fraction? No, because it only happens when the exponent's a negative that it comes out to be a fraction, as long as your base is not a fraction. Okay, 19, you do the same way. Radical, negative 125. There's a 3 and a power of 4. Has anybody broken down 125 already? How many 5s are there? 3. -5 times -5 times -5. And what comes out? A 5 or a -5? And what power is it being raised to? Does that mean it's going to come out to be a positive or a negative? A positive because of the 4th power. Does that mean they always come out to be positives? No. If the base is negative, it depends on if the exponent's odd or even. Anybody have it? What -5 to the 4th power is? Nobody did it? 625. Positive 625. Okay, are we good? All right, I'm going to jump on down to 27. Before I do 27, I want to warn you right now that there are a bunch of these type of problems on today's assignment. So you guys remember how to do these, right? Add your exponents, which means you need a common denominator. Okay. Does anybody remember how to do this one? It's on the quiz. It's on the test. Does anybody remember how to do this one? Number 27. No one? No one's going to take a shot at it? There was a shortcut I showed you. Okay, the real mathematical way was the 1 on the outside, and that's x to the 1/4 raised to the what fraction? 1/5. And then what do you do with the power to a power? You add or multiply? Do you need a common denominator when you multiply? No. You just multiply. What's 1 times 1? What's 4 times 5? So my answer is x to the 1/20th. The only thing I have to do is change it to radical form. X, what goes right here? 20. What's the power? If I don't write the power of 1, is that okay? Yes. Now, I'm going to show you the shortcut one more time because people in my other class said they liked the shortcut better. Does anybody remember what the shortcut was? I'm going to rewrite the problem. You just multiply the denominators, or the denominator with the index. What's 5 times 4? What is it? So 1, I don't know why I put 1 over x. I apologize. That's just wonky. X raised to the 1 over 20. What if I had the cube root of x to the 1/7? What would that be? You multiply the index with the denominator. What would that be? 1 over 21. What if I had the 6th root of x to the, let's say 3/5? 3 over x to the 3 over 30. Can I reduce that? I heard 10. Can I reduce that? X to the 1 over 10. Unless they told you to change to radical form, which you would do at this time. Anybody like the shortcut better? Anybody like the mathematical way and how to rewrite it and blah, blah, blah? No one? Okay, they both work. You choose what works best for you. All right, let's put this aside. Remember, this is due tomorrow, so everything needs to be done, completed, and ready to turn in. If you guys will please take out your notebooks.
Yay!
Exactly. Thank you. Stop.
Brett cracks me up.